In the town of Azurville, residents know two things to be true. One, those who are born in Azurville die in Azurville. Two, those who die in Azurville stay in Azurville.
Oh, Wilhelm, why must we let such things keep us apart? Do we not love each other? Is that love not worth fighting for? Till the end of time, I will never stop fighting for us to be together. Oh, but kiss me, you fool! Oh, what I would give to have a little romance in my life like that. Well, maybe not exactly like that, with the murder and the cheating and the switched at birth, but still, a little passion. Instead, I'm anticipating the moans I'll hear from my first graders as I tell them that it's time for the spelling test. I tell myself it could be worse. I'd rather be dealing with the nonsensical tattletaling about how so-and-so doesn't want to be my friend anymore than hormone-driven teenagers. People ask me if this is my dream job. It's not, and for a while I felt guilty about answering that way. When you're a teacher, you do it because you just have a passion for it. I've never had a passion for anything in my life. I like kids. I work well with them. This is the job that hired me. It's the job that allows me my apartment and pays my bills. The yearly summer break isn't so bad either. But that's it. People don't like that as an answer. They get disappointed, as if this were supposed to be something more than a job. Really, I could have been a secretary or office worker, but helping 6-year-olds to finger paint sounded more fun. And it was. I will be gracious enough to say that. It's never a boring job. I think the only glamorous job one can get in this town would be the filming studios in the downtown area. That's where all the local TV stars get all dolled up and shoot things like Dancing with Nobility. I actually knew one of the actresses, but around here it wasn't like mentioning a Hollywood star. Most people knew someone who had been on Dancing with Nobility. That show had been on for decades. But still, it was a fun icebreaker at parties or staff meetings to be like, oh, you know Deanne, the current lead actress? I went to the same college as her. It wasn't just that we were in the same building together. Deanne and I had been friends. I had been majoring in education, obviously, with a minor in theater. I never expected to do anything with it, maybe perform in the annual Christmas play or something like that, but nothing more. Deanne had other plans, however. When she hit that stage, she was a star. That's what she always told me. I'm going to be the star in every single play I'm in, Juliet. Otherwise, what's the point? She used to tease me about my name. The first few times we had met up outside of class for coffee, she would recite Shakespeare at me. I always laughed at the notion, and truthfully, it never bothered me. There are worse things that a person could tease you with than Shakespeare quotes. Looking back, those college years had been about the best times of my life. She wasn't like me. She didn't just work to pay the bills and be comfortable. She had that drive. Although, if I'm being honest, I always wondered if she felt she had a choice. Her mother had been the previous star for Dancing with Nobility until she took an early retirement. Deanne was expected to take her place. So yes, there was a bit of politics and a bit of drama. But still, sometimes I wonder what my life could have been like if I had gone further with my minor than my major. If I had followed doing something for fun rather than stability. Then I probably wouldn't be running late to a classroom of 6-year-olds with a light sweater that was permanently stained from spilled coffee and paints. Maybe after I died and all my bills went away, I could do something fun. As much fun as a ghost could, that is. No, I'm complaining too much. The kids are fine, some years are better than others, but it's a stable job and I have a stable life. I was young, only in my late 20s. There was plenty of time for something more exciting to happen. All right, everyone, take a seat. Everyone, sit down, please. Good. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a restful weekend. We'll start with a quick refresh and then we'll begin our spelling test. I motioned towards the kids as the anticipated moans rang throughout the room. I couldn't help it, I giggled to myself. The typical morning routine went by as planned. After spelling, we did some math and a little science, followed by the kids getting picked up for PE. The extracurricular class meant that I had time to myself in the classroom. I took advantage by taking out the now completed spelling test to grade them. Just then my phone rang. Probably the front office saying someone was going home early, or something along those lines. I answered it. "Hello, first grade, Miss Juliet speaking." There was no answer on the other end, just static. I would have hung up, except school phones don't work like regular ones. They could only receive internal calls, so if a parent was trying to get a hold of our classroom, they would have to be transferred over by the front office. I assumed this had to be the case, and perhaps the parent was still trying to get their act together. "Hello?" Still nothing. I decided that this was wasting my time and that if it was urgent, they could call back. Just as I was about to press the phone back onto the receiver, I heard a faint, "Hello?" I brought it back to my ear. "First grade, Miss Juliet speaking. How may I help you?" "Mom?" The word froze me. I opened my mouth to speak, but it was as if I had forgotten the entire language, or that my tongue had been dislocated. This had to be a mistake. Some of the teachers here were parents. Maybe they just had transferred to the wrong room. But then, why was I having this reaction? Why did something about this word, this voice, seem so familiar? "Hello, Mom?" I felt as if a switch had been set off inside me as I came back to life enough to answer. "I'm sorry, I think you may have been transferred over to the wrong room. Who are you looking for?" "Juliet?" Again, I froze. My mouth went dry. I took a long gulp of my coffee, but it went down so quickly that I ended up sputtering most of it out. "Hello, Mom? Are you okay?" "Listen," I began once my throat was cleared up. "I'm not sure who you think you are or what game you're playing at, but it ends now. Do not call this school again. Got it?" "No, Mom, I hung up before the prankster could continue, because that was the only logical explanation for what was happening. It didn't bring me much comfort, however. Just who could it be to think this sort of thing would be funny? The voice on the other end had sounded like a teenager. I hadn't been around long enough for any of my students to have grown up with a vendetta against me. Even the few sixth graders I had reported to the office from time and time again in the past, they would be in middle school at best. So who was it? I took a look at the clock. I had about 10 minutes before my students were due back from gym. I headed up to the office and greeted the secretary with a smile. She asked about my weekend, but with the time being limited, I cut right to the chase. "I don't mean to be a bother, but in the future with the phone calls, we need to be more selective about our screening." "I'm sorry, I don't quite follow." I looked down at her. She was a young, freckled little thing with her hair done up in the latest style. It must have been recent. Now I knew how she had spent her weekend. "The phone call I received this morning ended up being a prank. I know things slip through the cracks, like students pretending to be their parents to call in sick, but in the future, these things need to be handled with more diligence." "What phone call?" I let out a sigh, not even trying to hide my exasperation. Maybe if she had spent more time on her job and less on her hair, we wouldn't be having this situation. I almost said as much, but managed to hold in my content. "The one I just got in my room, not 5 minutes ago?" "No one's called the front office, Miss Juliet." I stared at her. There was no chance she was in on this, was she? I had met the woman occasionally during staff meetings, but this was the most hostile exchange we'd ever had. Surely she had nothing against me. Perhaps they were doing this to all of the teachers, and I was simply first because of my grade level? But I was getting ahead of myself. I had no proof of who they were, let alone that this had been a prank and not some giant miscommunication. I had to give the secretary the benefit of the doubt. "Perhaps it rang while you were in the bathroom or taking a smoke break?" "No, I've been in here all morning. I try not to go for my smokes until after lunch, so they don't ruin my taste buds." I was at a loss for words. That seemed to be happening a lot this morning, but I had no other reason to keep interrogating her over questions that I didn't know how to ask. I thanked her for her time and went on my way. I'm fairly certain she was watching me intently as I left. I found myself walking back to my classroom at a much slower pace than I normally would. I didn't have much time before the PE teacher would be dropping them back off to me, and yet I felt my stomach twist at the thought of going back into my room. What if the phone rang again, and this time I wasn't alone? What would the kids think if they saw that their teacher didn't have things under control? Moreover, if it rang while they were present, it meant that this was real. However, what almost frightened me more was the thought of us being in there and the phone not going off, as if the machine were sentient and would sense that it was being watched. It would lay in wait until I was alone. But that was crazy, right? This paranoia? But if it only rang when I was alone, then what did that say about my mental state? I decided that after lunch, the children and I would spend our afternoon outside. We could bring chalk and do our art lessons out on the sidewalk. It was a beautiful day, fortunately, so most of the kids were excited for it. By the time the bell rang, I had put the ordeal out of my mind. I went back to my classroom, collected my personal belongings, and went home. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. My apartment was nothing special. 1 bed, 1 bath. I had a deal for a 2-bedroom back when I had been looking, but I thought it would have been a waste of space. Maybe I would upgrade if there ever came a time where I wasn't single, then laughed at the thought. I hadn't been in a serious relationship since I was in high school. I thought about Deanne and how she was dating her newest co-star, Jacob. They had been seen on dinner dates before. I knew this because I had read about them in one of my gossip magazines. Deanne told me I should stop reading those. It must have been at least a little glamorous to have hordes of people interested in something as commonplace as a dinner date. I could understand how in the same way it would be tedious, but still. How boring were our lives that someone else's dinner date was interesting. If it had been me, and I had gone on and on about a recent dinner date, everyone around me would be wondering when I was going to shut the hell up. My cat, Sir Fluffsalot, came up and began to rub against my leg before promptly begging for dinner. I got out his little dish and placed it in front of him before checking my fridge to see what I was going to eat tonight. There was a salad, which probably needed to be thrown out, and some leftover pizza. I knew I had pasta in my pantry, but nothing to flavor it with. Takeout it was, then. I opened up my junk drawer and pulled out the menus I had saved up over the years. A nearby family-owned place served a lovely chicken parmesan, and I decided that would be well enough for me. I picked up my phone to dial over, but before I could start to press the buttons, I heard a strange noise. Something between static and the quiet whisper of wind. At first, I looked around me, then down at my cat, who was still gorging himself on dried kibble. I thought maybe I had left the TV on or left a window open or something to that effect when I realized that the sound was much closer than my living room. I looked down at the phone in my hand. Hello? My spine shivered as I dropped the menus to the floor. Hello? Mom? Hello? How did you get this number? Mom, is that you? How did you get this number? From this occult shop. I didn't think it would actually work. Which street? I don't know. I don't remember. My fear turned to anger. This was just some dumb kid part of a scam. Clearly the owners of these supposed occult stores were repackaging phone books and selling them off to... I don't know, but it was becoming clear what was happening. I tried to lessen up on my frustration. This kid was also a victim and was not in fact trying to harm me. Okay, let's start this again. Who are you trying to get a hold of? Juliet. I flinched at the sound of my name, but rationalized that it meant nothing. Lots of people were named Juliet. And Juliet is your mother? Yes. My sympathy levels grew. This kid, whoever they were, must have had a severely uninvolved parent if they thought that buying phone books from an occult store would garner them attention. Perhaps it would be worth investigating more. If this situation ended up being more serious, I might have to report it in. Where is your mother now? She's dead. My mind went blank. I don't mean that I had no reaction. Once I gathered up my senses, I was plenty fired up. But I mean that, as this phrase was uttered, I saw a white light in my mind's eyes, as though a flash camera had gone off behind them, shooting forward. I blinked and rubbed at my temple. Hello? Are you still there? I pulled myself together. This was a child in need of an adult. I put on my professional voice. Sweetheart, listen to me. I think I understand what's going on now. This occult store, whatever it is, has played a vicious scheme. They gave you a phone book and told you that these were numbers of the dead, yes? I guess something like that. All right. That phone book was exactly that, a phone book. It just contains numbers from people around town.
What's a phone book?
This poor child. They must be from the more rural part of town. Then another idea dawned upon me. Perhaps it wasn't an occult store after all. If this child was so sheltered as to not understand what a phone book was, then any store would seem frightening. They might have been left alone and, given no other choice, went to a nearby store and purchased it. But that still didn't explain why they were calling for their mom if she was apparently dead. I needed more answers if I was going to help them. Can you tell me your name?
Charlotte, but everyone calls me Lottie.
Charlotte, what a pretty name. I always liked that name. Okay, can you tell me where you are?
I'm at home.
I took a deep inhale. This child sounded like a teenager and should probably be able to articulate more clearly than this. And again, they didn't know what a phone book was. And so this book you bought with the telephone numbers, where did the people at the store say that they call into?
It wasn't a whole book, it's just one number, and it has to be called at midnight.
Well, that can't be true. You're talking to me right now, and you called me earlier this afternoon at work.
I called over a week ago.
No, you called my classroom this afternoon, remember?
I called last week.
Okay, dear, I really think you're confused. Why don't you just give me your address and I can send somebody over, okay?
Okay.
All right, let me get a pen and paper. What's your street name? I'm unfamiliar with that. Are you in the rural area? Suburbs? Honey, I've lived in the suburbs my whole life and I've never heard of that. Which town are you calling from? Oh my goodness, you're calling all the way from the States? Am I being charged for this? Dear, I'm sorry, but whatever this is, I don't think I can be a part of it. Don't call this number again, okay? I'm going to give you the hotline for CPS, but don't call me anymore, okay?
You sound just like her.
Like who?
My mom.
I wanted to hang up right there. I'd never gotten an international call before, and I didn't want to know what the size of the bill was going to be. Yet something compelled me to stay on. I wish I could say it was out of pity. This poor kid was clearly very confused and in desperate need of help. It wasn't like me to just pass along someone else's problems like this. But I knew it wasn't my sympathy which kept me on the phone. I wanted to know what was going on. Sweetie, how did your mother die?
She was in an accident. Black ice. The other driver hit her head on.
I winced at the explanation, now unsure of what to do with that bit of information. So I decided to keep asking questions. And you think this number is meant to call her?
That's what I was told.
Where exactly is it that you're trying to reach?
The land of the dead.
And instead these calls are being directed to Azurville?
Where?
Azurville, dear. It's on a map.
Is it on Google Earth?
What? It's on Earth, dear.
But not in America?
No, it's not. At the reminder that this was an international call, my curiosity was once more replaced with my anxiety about the cost. Asking questions had me only more confused, at any rate. Listen, dear, I think it's best that I go now.
Okay. Can I call you again, Mom?
No, I don't think that's a good idea, and I'm not your mother.
Who are you then?
What?
If you're not my mom, then who are you?
Well, my name is Juliet, yes. I work as a first-grade teacher in the suburban elementary school.
My mom was a teacher too.
That had to be made up. The notion of all of this being a prank began to surface up in my mind yet again. Perhaps this child was confused, or perhaps they were genuinely just messing with me. Either way, it was time to end the call. Good night, then.
Oh, good night, Mom.
I slammed the receiver down harder than I intended. I let out a long sigh and massaged my temples just as a headache started to form. I felt my cat rub against my legs, so I picked him up and buried my face into his neck. I suddenly realized I was starving. That was probably the cause for the headache. I decided that takeout could wait until tomorrow and threw the remainder of my leftover pizza into the microwave. After that, things were relatively back to normal. I would go to work, teach, come home, eat some dinner, watch Dancing with Nobility, and go to bed. On weekends, I would do shopping and chores around the apartment, like cleaning and paying bills. Nothing too exciting, but overall comfortable. I began to put the phone calls out of my mind. When a month or so passed and no giant bill ever came in for an international call, I figured I must have been off the hook. I still hesitated whenever the phone rang, although in my defense, not too many people called me anyway, so the chances of it being a scam artist were still considerably high. Yet as the days kept going on and this child never called back, I found myself thinking about it less and less. Then one day, I checked the calendar and realized my birthday was a week away. I hadn't really thought of any plans to make it special. Maybe I should call Deanne. Ask her if she could meet me downtown and the two of us could grab a coffee, and maybe she'd gift me it with a novelty t-shirt. I realized how silly that sounded. We kept up through occasional letters, mostly around the holidays, but we hadn't gotten together since college. I guess she still felt so close to me because I saw her on television every day. Then I thought, why not? The worst she could do was say that she was busy and I might drop by downtown regardless. Get a coffee on my own. I reached for my phone book, then recalled that Deanne had an unlisted number. I didn't think the one she had given me back in college would still work. I'm fairly certain it was her dorm room number. Then I remembered the name of her agency. There was no guarantee that she would answer or that they would convey a message, but it was a Saturday and I had no reason not to stay home and wait for a response. So I went ahead and gave the agency a call. I told them my name and that I knew Deanne back in college. They were pleasant enough, but also a little vague in their responses. The only concrete answer they gave me was that they would be calling me by the end of the day. I didn't have high hopes. An hour passed, then 2, then morning turned to afternoon, and afternoon turned to evening. I did everything I needed to get done around the house, so now it was just time to sit back and watch Dancing with Nobility and see my friend on the tiny screen. I felt a deep pang of something within my heart. It wasn't quite jealousy. I don't think I could handle all of the town tuning into me every week, but there was a feeling I didn't quite recognize. The closest thing I could come to describing it is that it's like an adrenaline rush. I needed to break out and run until I couldn't any longer. I closed my eyes and tried to shake the urge away, but it only became more and more prominent until I thought I might burst from my skin. Then the phone rang. Immediately, I threw off my blankets and rushed over to answer. I tried to tell myself not to feel disappointed when it wasn't the agency, yet that thought fueled my every move. Hello?
Mom?
Disappointed couldn't even begin to describe what I was feeling. Lottie, I thought I told you not to call this number again.
I didn't. It changes every time.
What do you mean? You called me at my apartment over a month ago.
I haven't called since last year.
I rolled my eyes, then realized that they could not see my frustration, so I let out an exasperated sigh. Listen, I've just about had it with these pranks. I really have.
I'm not trying to prank you. I'm just trying to call my mom.
The mom you claim who is dead.
Yes.
And I told you that this number was a fraud. Go back and report that shop to the local authorities. Does anyone know you're making these calls?
No, my dad would kill me if he knew.
Something in that phrase made me stop. Again, I felt that overwhelming sense of empathy towards this child and their plight. Does your dad hurt you?
Sometimes.
What do you do when he hurts you?
Normally it's when my music is too loud or he's had too much to drink or...
No, I mean, when he hurts you, what do you do to stop it?
Nothing. He's a lot bigger than me.
I felt tears trickle at my cheek. I would definitely have to report this now. Of all the questions I could have asked next, I'm not sure what made me say, "What would your mother do if she was still alive?"
She took the brunt of it. She and Dad would argue a lot and make me go into the other rooms. She would tell me to hide until it was done. She never blamed Dad for the bruises on her face, but I knew that he had hit her.
And then she died in a car crash?
Yes.
There was a flash of white light coming out from the back of my eyes. It felt as though needles were being pressed out of my skull, and I gave a pained gasp.
Mom, are you okay?
I'm fine. Have you ever told anybody this?
No.
Not a teacher or a friend?
No, I deserve it.
Honey, no one deserves to be treated like this.
I do. It's my fault she's dead. I killed her.
My mouth went dry and my skin went cold. I looked around the room. Every shadow seemed to move, causing me to jump. Suddenly, every curtain or closed door seemed like an opportunity for someone to be hiding inside. I couldn't move. I tried desperately to wriggle free from the spot, but my body remained in place, as though my muscles had been pinned down by some invisible source. I had to breathe in and out several times before my jaw relaxed enough for me to ask my next question. Can you give me your address again, please? I managed to walk over to my countertop and take out a piece of paper and pen. Thank you, Lottie. I will call CPS on Monday morning. I don't remember what happened on Sunday. The next thing I knew, Monday morning was upon me and I was at my phone. I told them who I was, as well as some version of the truth, that I was receiving prank calls from a child who was obviously in trouble. Everything was going well until I gave them the address.
Could you repeat that?
The agent on the other end asked. I did as she requested.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure where that is, but it's certainly outside of our jurisdiction.
But the child said that their father is hitting them, with their own words. There has to be something you can do.
I'm sorry, I wish that there was, but we can only become involved within the districts of Azurville.
Well, then is there a number you can call so someone within this other district can go over and help?
We don't carry that kind of information.
What can you do?
As I said, this is outside our jurisdiction. We recommend that you continue to talk to this child, see if there's any more information to be collected, and try to plan out...
Nothing. You can do nothing. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm trying to help you, ma'am.
You know, I'm a teacher, and as such, I am a mandated reporter. That means if I suspect that a child is not safe, I am legally required to report it, or I could face a fine or even jail time.
That's correct, ma'am.
Do you know what they tell us during training?
What?
That we report our suspicions, no matter how little they may be. If we are given any reason to believe that a child is not safe, we are legally required to report it. So here I am, being told from the child that their father hits them, and I am reporting it. I am doing my civic duty, only to be told that nothing will happen to help the child.
I am telling you that this location is outside of our jurisdiction. We have no authority there. Even if we made it over, their laws might differ from ours and we could be breaking several.
Then contact someone who can.
We do not have that information, ma'am.
I slammed down the receiver, realizing that this was going absolutely nowhere. My cat came up and rubbed against my legs. I picked him up and held him close, trying to calm myself down from the frustration. I tried, kitty, I really did. I thought about getting a hold of Lottie again, seeing if they could call CPS on their end. Then I realized that I didn't actually have their number. I felt lost as to what to do next. It was strange how quickly my feelings towards the situation had shifted. Then I wondered if other people were getting these calls, or if it was really just me. I didn't know how to bring up the subject matter to others. I mostly kept to myself, and whenever I did meet up in the teacher's lounge or anything like that, it seemed rather an awkward question to ask. Once, the third grade teacher was talking about how her phone bill was higher than usual. I tried to bring up that I was receiving prank calls. She just gave me a long glance and muttered something about unlisting my number. I tuned in more to the news, both on TV and the radio, to see if others had reported strange phone calls. Nothing ever came up. Perhaps it really was just me. Months passed and my phone rang here and there, usually telemarketers, sometimes my mother asking why I never called anymore. My phone rang in my classroom as well, and that was either parents or my supervisors telling me that a child was going home early. Unlike before, when time had passed and I had all but forgotten the phone calls, I found myself becoming restless. I was going to bed later and later, leaving my apartment less and less. My mind would come up with horrible images of what might be preventing Lottie from calling me back. I imagined this poor child locked up in a room with nothing to eat, bruises on their face as a pale blue ghost. Then I realized I did not know what Lottie looked like. I had a vague image of them in my head. I imagined sandy-colored hair and a darker complexion, like mine. I imagined a kid who would be on the softball team, who was a jeans and t-shirt sort of person. Brown eyes. Creating this image of Lottie in my mind both somehow calmed and worried me all the more. It was nice to have a face to the voice, even if it was only in my imagination, but it also made the darker thoughts more real. This wasn't just an abstract thought, this was a flesh and blood child who needed help, and there was none that I could provide. The only thing I could do was wait. Then I recalled what they had said the last time we had spoken. I deserve it. I killed her. What had they meant by that? It couldn't be so simple as to be literal. Lottie seemed confused, but somehow I knew they weren't a killer. Maybe that was me being naive, a hopeful teacher trying to see the best in a child. All I wanted was for them to be safe. Then at last, my phone rang one night. Hello?
Mom?
Oh, Lottie, thank goodness. I was so worried. Where are you? Is everything okay?
I guess.
Okay. Are you safe, Lottie?
Things are the same as they've always been.
I didn't know how to take that, but I suppose it meant Lottie wasn't in immediate danger. There was no guarantee that we would be able to contact one another again, so I had to keep them on the phone as long as possible. Lottie, I know this might be a lot to ask for, but can you give me your number? I want to be able to make sure you're all right when... I realized as I said these words just how strange of a request this must be. Would it really be wise of me to call up a child whenever I felt paranoid? What if their father answered, or any of the other adults in their life? What excuse could I possibly give? I just didn't want a repeat of all those months passing by with no word.
I don't think it works that way.
What do you mean?
I think I can call you, but not the other way around.
I bit my lip. Honestly, that was probably for the best, at least in the grand scheme of things. But I still had to keep them talking while we were on the flying together. All right then, Lottie, listen. I need you to do something. It's very important. Are you able to go down to the library and look up the number for Child Protective Services?
The library closes at night.
Maybe tomorrow?
I can probably look up the number online.
What do you mean?
Like, on the internet.
I frowned in confusion. I was about to ask them to elaborate, but they interrupted me.
Listen, could we, maybe not talk about this stuff tonight?
Okay. I was hesitant, but I tried to keep my voice soft. For some reason, this child trusted me, and I didn't want to ruin that. What do you want to talk about?
Just how was your day, you know?
All right. How was your day?
It was good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I made the team last week.
Oh, really? What do you play?
Basketball?
We went on like that for hours. I gave a yawn and finally said that we should call it a night.
Mom?
Yes?
Are you mad at me for calling?
No, Lottie, not anymore.
Then it's okay if I keep calling you?
Of course, I've enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. It's good to hear you again.
I was so caught up in our conversation, I hadn't even realized they were still referring to me as their mother. I didn't mean to lead them on, but it was best to end this. Yet as I went to do so, it occurred to me how natural the title felt. I thought about how the word had struck me the first time I had heard it, how instead of immediately thinking it was a wrong number, part of me had acknowledged something. Lottie, I'm sure your mother would be very proud of you.
Are you proud of me?
I am, but you know I'm not your mother.
You sound just like her. You talk like her. Your name is Juliet.
I know, dear, but we've been through this.
Does this mean you don't want me calling you?
Please, keep calling me. I want to make sure that you're okay, and I know you didn't want to talk about it tonight, but you will contact CPS, right? I've tried everything I can do on my end.
I don't think you can do much.
No, unfortunately, not where I'm at.
You mean the land of the dead?
Why are you so convinced of this?
I got this number to call my mom, and you keep picking up. I don't know what else to think.
What would it take for you to understand that I'm not your mother?
I guess you could send a pic to me?
I tried to remember if I still had a disposable camera. I'd rather not have to buy one and use up all the film for a single photo. Then I recalled that I had leftover headshots from picture day at work. They were from last year, but I hadn't aged so much in the meantime. I'll send one in the mail tomorrow.
Can't you just text me one?
Text? No, it's a photo, honey, not a letter.
Does your phone not take pictures?
My phone? Why would it? Oh, never mind. I'll send the picture over tomorrow. Call me when you get it, okay?
The number doesn't always work, only on certain days.
Okay, just let me know when the photo arrives and we can talk about it, all right?
Sure, Mom.
Good night, Lottie.
Good night. I love you.
Good night. I did as I said the next day and sent over the photograph. I had no idea the amount of stamps I would need and asked the front desk at the post office. They said about 3. I thought that was a touch excessive, but I only ever mailed out letters at Christmas time anyway. After that, there was not much else to do except wait. I don't know what I was expecting to be the outcome from all of this. Lottie would see that I was not their mother, and it would be up to them if the relationship continued. I had almost wished that I had asked them to send a photo back to me, but that just seemed a touch strange. I had this very clear image of Lottie in my head. I think it would be a bit of a shock seeing what they actually looked like. The phone rang the following evening and I braced for it. Hello!
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
Deanne.
Well, that's no way to greet your old friend.
I blushed, then apologized for the disappointment evident in my voice. I'm not sure why I had been so certain Lottie would have called me so soon after our last conversation, especially since it would be days or even weeks for the photo to travel, wherever it was going. I turned my attention back to Deanne. How are you?
Oh, busy, very, very busy. So sorry for missing your birthday, old girl, but you know how these things are.
No, it's all right, I understand. I saw in the magazines the other week that you have a new beau.
Oh, yes, Jacob. He's been wonderful. He's Wilhelm's brother. You remember Wilhelm, don't you? Well, anyway.
She prattled on like that for a good while until I finally interjected and said that I had best be getting ready to head out for the day. A little white lie, but I wanted to keep the phone free just in case. Deanne seemed a touch offended, but said nothing to the contrary and let me go. I sat in my living room, wondering if there was anything else on television besides silly soap operas. Lottie said that they don't have much interest in television, that they mostly play games. I thought they were referring to sports again, but they told me that they played games on their phone. Such a strange concept. I had no idea other countries had technology so advanced. I flipped through channels until a cooking show came on. I wasn't really paying attention to it, but it made for decent background noise. The phone went off again and I ran for it. Hello? Hello? Lottie, is that you? I shook a little as I hung up the phone. It had to be a wrong number, that was all. People get calls like that all the time. Yet somehow I knew things weren't right. I began to wonder if perhaps Lottie had kept this number out, if it was something their father found, and I became very afraid for them. I thought once more about contacting CPS, but I knew that was going to be a waste of time. I thought maybe that I should just get over to Lottie myself, but no, that was crazy. I couldn't just fly over to the States. Summer break was months away. I tried to tell myself that maybe I was overthinking things, that I had no proof that was Lottie's father on the phone. Even if it wasn't, there was no guarantee that he would never find out about this. Either way, I had to get Lottie out of that house, so what was I to do? I just waited. It would be another few weeks before I heard from Lottie again. How are you? Did you get the picture?
Yeah, Mom, it's really you.
My heart sank. This poor kid was just so confused. I thought momentarily about playing along with the delusion, if only because maybe then they'll listen to me. But I knew that would be cruel. So you're saying you did get the photo in the mail?
Yeah, Mom, it's you.
Honey, I really think you must be confused. Maybe I look similar to your mother, and in all your grief, you're still holding on to the hope that...
No, it's you. Didn't you get the photo I sent?
What photo?
I sent one over to you as well, of all of us.
I hadn't checked my mail in weeks. I asked Lottie to hold on for a moment before grabbing my mail key. I don't know why I felt this was so important. I needed to get back there and convince Lottie to call CPS. Maybe I just wanted answers. Maybe if the photo had been sent, then I could convince them once and for all that I'm not their mother. I got downstairs and located my mailbox. Sure enough, as I opened it, there was a large envelope inside with childish writing scrawled all over. I decided to open it back upstairs with Lottie on the phone. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, the photo came. I'm going to open it now, then we can have a chat about... The photo fell into my lap. I stared at the face of a sandy-haired teenager, the one who played sports and had brown eyes, exactly how I had pictured Lottie all this time. Next to them was a burly-looking man. His smile was wide enough, but there was nothing nice about it. He had his hand gripped tight on his child's shoulder. Then, on the other side, was me. I don't mean this person looked like me. I mean it was me. My hair, my eyes, even the little dimple in my smile. I froze. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. Then, all at once, that white light came back and flooded my whole world. I saw everything. The day I met my husband, the day Lottie was born, their first steps, their first day of school. I remembered the first time my husband had laid hands on me. I remember stepping between him and Lottie, letting him hit me instead of them. Then I remembered the night I finally decided to leave him. I took Lottie into the car and we sped off onto the black ice. The whiteness melted away and I was once again in my kitchen. I breathed heavily as I collected my thoughts. I remembered everything about that other life. And yet I remembered everything from here as well. I was born and raised in Azurville. I never married. I never had children. Yet the memories played back to back as if they were both true. I wasn't sure what to believe, except what I felt in that moment. And what I felt was the strongest love I could have ever imagined towards the child on the other end of this phone call.
Mom?
Lottie, baby, I remember everything. I could hear my kid laugh, and it was the most beautiful sound. I hadn't realized until that second how much I had missed it.
See, I told you.
I know, baby, I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I don't know where I am or how I got here.
You died 2 years ago.
I became a teacher 2 years ago. I don't know why those two things correlated in my mind, but I had no idea how to make sense of any of this. Has it really been that long?
Yeah, I really miss you, Mom.
I miss you too, baby.
Mom, if I die, would I go to the same place as you?
No, baby, no. You cannot take that risk. I don't know how any of this works.
But I want to be with you.
I know, baby, but it's not worth throwing your life away.
But I should be dead already. I should have died the same night you did. It's my fault.
I remembered that night. My husband was working late, and I finally decided to pack my things and run. I told Lottie to do the same. Then we both got into the car. A few hours into the drive, Lottie asked me for something, a snack, a bottle of water, I don't remember. And I reached down to grab it, and I didn't notice the black ice, which caused us to swerve. All this time, my child had thought, "No, Lottie, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was just an accident. Listen to me. It was not your fault. Got it?"
Okay.
All right. I need you to listen. You need to get out of that house.
Who are you talking to? Dad, Give me the phone. Who is this?
It's Juliet.
What kind of sick joke is this?
It's no joke. It's me. Now you're going to listen. If you lay one hand on my child, I will... Hello? Hello? Lottie? Lottie, are you there? Lottie? Lottie? A message from the void. I've made it so your lives could be so comfortable here. Why are you always this ungrateful?